Following the conclusion of the 2024-25 campaign, and now with Notts County's season officially over as they lost in the playoff at semi-finals to AFC Wimbledon, in today's video we're going to go through Notts County's entire 30-man squad and decide whether every player should be kept, sold, loaned out or have their contract exited come this summer. Now, today, Notts County have actually published their return list. I wasn't expecting it to come out today, so I guess the purpose of today's video is slightly different to when we've done it for Bradford, Wrexham, Mansfield, Carlisle, for example. I expected Stuart Maynard's departure to be announced today and then the return list come out at some point next week when they've maybe gone and got a new manager, but it actually looks like Notts County are planning on sticking with Stuart Maynard for next season, which I think is an absolutely baffling decision. But make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 150 likes on today's video? That would be massively appreciated. And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Who's one player that you'd love to see kept at Notts County for next campaign, and who do you think is a very underrated player at your football club? We'll start out firstly then with Mai Traore. Obviously he came in January. He's a bit of an understudy to Alassana Jatta and hasn't really played that much first team football so far, but I think he's definitely a player that I'll be looking to keep around for next season. I think at times he does struggle a little bit with the style of play. He could do with another striker next to him. I think him and Jatta could work well as a front two, but obviously Notts County traditionally play with two holding midfielders, two attacking midfielders and just a lone striker. So for what we've seen of him so far, which is very limited in terms of his football, I do think there could be a decent player in there for the future, and I think it's very unlikely that he's going to be sold after, just 4 or 5 months at the football club. And next up then is Will Jarvis, another player who joined in January, I think on a 3.5-year contract from Hull City. And again, his game time at times has been pretty limited so far this season, but I do think again there's a good player in Will Jarvis, one to develop and maybe sell on in the future. I think he certainly would play better as a number 10 in the Notts County formation rather than at wing back. I do think defensively he can get caught out a bit because obviously he is a winger. He's very good at taking players on. Defensively he's obviously not going to be great, but I do think he is again another player that we'll be looking to keep around for next season. Charlie Whittaker has obviously been released by the football club today, and again that is an opinion that I would definitely agree with. Came in January to be the Dan Crowley replacement, and I said at the time that it was just a really baffling idea, not only selling Dan Crowley but then replacing him with a very unproven Premier League 2 academy player. They signed him on a permanent short-term contract. I'm not sure why they really went down that route rather than obviously just loaning him in from Everton, but he scored a couple of goals, clearly wasn't going to be good enough, and he'll probably go to another League 2 club who are around mid-table and don't quite have that expectation and pressure that's been on him this season. Tyler Miller came in when obviously Alex Bass picked up his hamstring injury away at Grimsby and literally did not kick a football for the football club. I'm pretty sure he also did get released. I think that's Robbie Cundy up next then. Again, it's another signing which didn't really work out. I think he's currently out on loan at Solihull Moors, and I'm pretty sure he has also been released by the football club. Next up then, we go to Scott Robertson, a player that I rate very highly. In the few times that I've seen him play against my team Bradford City, I think he's looked really good, but this season has again massively struggled with injuries. He's always struggled with injuries throughout his career, but I think just 7 appearances for him this season, which is nowhere near good enough. When he's available though, he is a good player, but I don't think he's somebody that you can rely on for next season, and it is a position where Notts County clearly do need to improve on going into next campaign. And next up then, we go to Rod McDonald. Obviously came in from Harrogate last summer, and I don't think he's good enough to be a regular starter with how the back three is lined up at Notts County. Obviously him being left-footed, but he does traditionally play on the right of the back three. Sometimes his passing ability can be a bit let down because he's having to do the outside of the left-footed passes, but I think as a backup to somebody like a Jacob Bedo, it gives you a bit of flexibility as well if you want to go to a back four. I think he's a player that we'll be looking to keep around for next season. Same can be said about Matty Platt as well, another player that we'll be looking to keep around for next campaign. Obviously came in the summer after rejecting a new contract with Bradford City because he felt there was a better opportunity for him to get promoted with Notts County than Bradford City. He obviously looks very silly now, and I think across both playoff matches, especially the second leg, he was quite poor in all honesty, but I do certainly think he's massively improved their defence this season. Alassana Jatta is up next then, and for me personally, he is one that we'll be looking to sell in this summer. You're not quite going to get the rumoured £750,000 that you were potentially getting from Plymouth in January. You might be lucky to get £250,000 this summer because in the second half of the season he has massively tailed off, and I think he's actually hindered Notts County a little bit more than helping them. He's missed so many big chances. I think on the whole he is actually quite a poor finisher for such a tall frame. He's not very physical. He doesn't really link the play up very well. He's not particularly quick either, and like I mentioned, he's not a great finisher. So I think if you can cash in, now would be the best time to do so. Dave McGoldrick is the easiest one on the list for me. Definitely need to keep him around for next season, and he has been offered fresh terms with the football club. I would thoroughly expect him to sign that new contract. Obviously has had the odd injury throughout this season, missed the playoff semi-final second leg as well through injury. I think that's an injury that he struggled with throughout the majority of his career. I think it was his MCL, I'm pretty sure, but when he's available, without a doubt the best player in the division, and next season it's not even going to be close with no Luke Molineux, for example. So if they can keep him around for next season, which I think is very likely, I don't see him now wanting to make a step back up into League One or the Championship, which he could definitely do. So I would, if I was a Notts County fan, I'd be looking to keep him around for next year. Conor Grant still has 2 years left on his contract with the football club, and this season got 4 goals and 3 assists in 32 league matches, playing just less than 2,000 minutes this season. I don't think he's awful, but he's definitely not good enough to be starting regularly. He missed a fair few chances in that playoff semi-final first leg where he definitely should have scored a couple of them. I'm on the fence between keeping him as a backup or loaning him out. I'm not really too bothered what you do with him from that regard, but I probably just keep him around as a backup because, you know, David McGoldrick can often struggle with them injuries, so I probably would just lean towards keeping him around for next season. Lewis McCarry is up next then. Again, he is also contracted with the football club until 2027. Kind of at fault for the goal that Wimbledon score in the second leg as well, but at 23 years of age, I still do think there is going to be a good player to develop in there. I think he's consistent enough across a full season. I think a back three of Macari, Platt and Bido is more than good enough to be getting you into the top 7 again for next season. I'm sure Notts will probably be aiming to finish in the top 3 as well, but Macari I probably would keep around for next season as well. Jack Hinchy still has another year left on his contract, and at 22 years of age this season hasn't played maybe as much football as what he would have liked. Just 25 league appearances for him this season, 1 goal and 2 assists in that time. Again, he's not an awful footballer, but is he good enough for what Notts County want to be playing regularly in the league next season? Probably not. So then I think at that point, if you are to keep him around, it's probably only going to be as a backup. And we know there does need to be change in this Notts County squad. So again, I'm a little bit undecided because I do think he could develop into a decent player, but I'm just not really seeing where he's going to fit in next season. So for that reason, I probably would send Hinchy out on loan, maybe even if it's just for the first half of the campaign. We can then see what he is all about and all that sort of stuff, and then maybe reassess again in January. Jacob Bido is a very simple keep for me for next season. Very consistent for the majority of this campaign. Has massively improved that defence. A big upgrade on Kyle Cameron, for example, who I think is definitely a player who will be moving on. I think he is out of contract, and I think he has already been released by the football club. Obviously spent the first half of the season out on loan at St Johnstone, was their captain for a bit, then got stripped of captaincy, and then obviously went out on loan to Barrow in the second half of the campaign. He's been a decent servant to the football club, but I do think now is the best time to move on. Same can be said for somebody like an Adam Chickson as well, who spent the majority of this season, I think, out on loan at Woking. I could be wrong, but obviously recently did suffer a long-term injury. I think that could have been an ACL as well. So again, being a great servant to Notts County, wasn't really going to play much this season and clearly didn't, and obviously was definitely not going to be offered a new contract, and I'm pretty sure was also released by the football club. Next up then, we'll go to Sam Slocum, who again has also been released by the football club. A great servant for Notts County over the years, but I think we saw in the games where he played because of Alex Bass's injury that now is the best time for Slocum to move on. He's 36, 37 years of age, so I do think now is about the right time for him. Youngster Riley Reynolds still has another year left on his contract, and at 19 years of age this season was out on loan with Kidderminster, where he played in 27 matches and registered 5 assists in that time, which I don't think is an awful return. Next season again, send him back out on loan, this time to the National League, see what he can do at that level as well. Next up then, we'll go to Jody Jones, who I think again another player that should be kept around for next season. We're certainly building a pretty decent nucleus between this squad as well, and obviously this season Jones did massively struggle with injuries, and even when he came back from them, clearly was not not the same player. He clearly needs a full pre-season under his belt as well. And when he's fit, when he's available, when he's playing on the left-hand side, he's clearly a much better player than when he plays on the right as well, where he can just cross them naturally. He's not having to cut inside. Every team knows about the threat of Jody Jones. They're going to stick 2-3 players on him. They're going to try and foul him at every opportunity. So he's definitely a player that should be kept around. But if he has another season of injuries or not quite recovering from the injury, then you look at next season might be the best time to part ways. Nick Cerula for me is a very simple one. Definitely a player that I'd be looking to keep around for next season. As a left wing back, I do think him and Jody Jones could be competing for that spot going into next campaign. You've got Will Jarvis in the 10, you've got David McGoldrick in the 10 as well. For me, I think Cerula has been underused this season and is a very, very good player from what I saw of him throughout his time at Crawley. I do think Stuart Main had a slightly regressed that progress that Scott Lindsay had made with Cerula, because I do think he turned him into a very good attacking wing back for this level, and for me personally, a player that definitely should be kept around. Matty Palmer only signed a new contract with the football club back in December, and he still has another 2 years left on his contract. But for me personally, I just don't think he's good enough. Now 30 years of age, his set pieces are poor. I don't really see what he offers to the side. Defensively, he's not going to bring you much. He's an okayish passer of the ball, but surely he can find somebody else out there who's a decent passer of the ball, but also has got a bit of physical attributes about him, because Notts County, a lot of times this season, were massively bullied in the midfield. You look at Alistair Smith and the presence he had in the Wimbledon midfield. Nobody in this Notts County team had that this season. He's still got 2 years left on his contract, so he's going to be quite hard to move on. So for that reason, you probably do keep him around for next season. Whether he's still playing regularly, I'm not 100% sure, but with him obviously being the club captain, you would certainly expect him to still be staying around. Alex Bass for me is a pretty simple one. Definitely a keeper that should be kept and remain as the number one for next season. He has made the odd mistake this season, but on the whole, he has been very, very good. Made a number of very good saves in the playoffs. You look at that header in the second leg from Matty Stevens, where Bass got down well low to his left-hand side, and he made a number of them throughout the playoff matches and across the majority of the season. Definitely a massive improvement on Sam Slocum, one of the best goalkeepers in the entire division, and definitely a player that should be kept around for next season. We'll go to George Abbott next then. I think again a player that should be kept around for next year. Very unlikely. I think it is more than likely he will go back into League One, but he has been a good servant. He has performed pretty well on the whole. Is he as good for me as what a lot of Notts County fans make out? No, I don't believe so. I don't believe he's comfortably miles apart the best midfielder in the entire division. For me, he's probably in the top 10, but I would have him on the lower scale of that, in all honesty. I think he's a decent player, clearly one with a big, bright future ahead of him. Scored a couple of screamers this season, like Accrington away, like Cheltenham away as well, but I do think there has been times where he's gone missing, lacked a bit of that physical presence as well. So I do believe that he has done well for Notts County this season, but I do also think you could go out and get somebody who does a similar job or even better as well. Next up then, we'll go to Curtis Edwards, who still has another year left to run on his contract. Now, at 31 years of age, I do believe, struggled with injuries this season, just 16 league appearances where he did only register the one assist. I think coming on off the bench, he provides a lot of that energy to get you going, get you ticking, but I don't think he's good enough to be a regular starter for next season. You look at the options that we've already got in them positions, the likes of Will Jarvis, the likes of David McGoldrick in there as well. Do you really need Curtis Edwards to stay around as potentially a fourth choice attacking midfielder? Potentially, because I do think Notts County can lack a bit of experience in that side, so I'm not against keeping him around for next season, but we've already got a 15-man squad here. You're looking at potentially 5 to 10 new signings coming in this transfer window. There's not really many more players that we can be keeping around. James Sanderson still has another year left to run on his contract, and he's only 18 years of age, so definitely a player that should be loaned out for next season. Junior Marias still has another year left to run on his contract, and his only appearance for the football club this season for Notts County actually did come in the playoff semi-final second leg, where he's obviously subbed on for Mike Traore. He has had a number of different clubs start his career, only 29 years of age. This season in the National League didn't do awful, to be fair. He got 8 goals and 5 assists in just 26 appearances. That's 1 goal contribution in every 2 matches. Do I think he's good enough to play in a possession-based team? Not necessarily. We're thinking, he has done this in the National League with Woking. I think now is probably the best time for him to move on and try and sell him, and that obviously would leave Mike Traore as the only recognised striker going into next season, with obviously McGoldrick's future in the end, him playing his best football really as an attacking midfielder, so it would mean Notts County would need to go out and recruit in that position, but I think now is the best time to sell Junior Morais. When he's coming off the back of not an awful season, now is the right time to cash in. Sam Austin has obviously been released by the football club, and I do think he's been a great servant, very versatile, but at times certainly did lack the quality in the final third, and I think always gave it his best shot, but you could clearly see that his best at times wasn't quite good enough, so I do think now is the right time for all parties for him to move on. Zach Johnson managed just the 10 league matches this season, obviously on loan from Sunderland. He's still got another year left to run on his contract there, but at 19 years of age, I don't think he really played often enough to be warranting him coming back for next season, so I would just let his contract expire. Lucas Ness joined back in August last season and only actually managed the 7 league appearances, playing only 455 minutes, but still has another 2 years left to run on his contract, and now at 23 years of age, he needs to be playing regular first team football, so I would send him out on loan for next season, whether that be the National League or maybe a bottom end League 2 side. I'm not 100% sure, but I look at Notts County already having McDonald, Platt, Bedo, Macari, that's 4 centre-backs. Ness is going to be 5th choice. And like I said, now at 23 years of age, you just need to be playing regular first-team football, so I would send him out on loan for next season. The final player then is Kellan Gordon, who obviously featured on 30 occasions for Notts County this season. Still has another year left to run on his contract and played just over 1,650 minutes. He registered the 3 assists, and I don't think he's a bad option to have as a right wing back, and I think they could certainly do better in that position, but with a little bit of competition in there, I think you will probably get a little bit better out of Kellan Gordon. So there is my ranking and ratings of all of the entire 30-man Notts County first team squad going into next season. Obviously, the official retained and release list has been announced. If you're doing one for the manager, I would also be looking to move him on and find somebody better, because I don't think Stuart Maynard is a great manager whatsoever, but it would leave them with a 16-man squad for next season with 4 players out on loan as well, so it does leave there to be room for improvement. Again, some of those players like George Abbott, I think it's very unlikely will come back for next season as well, but I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 150 likes, as I mentioned at the start of today's video? That massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment of the Notts County squad? I'm sure Magpies fans, you'll have a different opinion to me, so let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you all for watching, have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one.